Special Council meeting of August 28, 2023. I'd like to have Neil Hess is here to address council on 2023-263.
Hi, my name's Neil Hess. I'm here on behalf of Springfield Township. First, want to really thank council for everything you've done to even consider this resolution to assist the township. They do have a grant deadline this Wednesday, asking for a resolution of support from council for their application to the Clean Ohio Fund. The project would purchase 2 properties that drain into Springfield Lake. They would be kept permanently as green space for the project. One parcel is about 18 acres of land, has about 7 acres of wetlands, 7.5 acres of wetlands that have been delineated on the property, over 1,000 feet of stream. Like I said, that does drain directly into Springfield Lake. The other property is about 15 acres. It's about 100% wetlands. It also drains across 224 into Springfield Lake, and I should have probably shown. This is the one that's 15 acres, drains directly into Springfield Lake. On the north side, this is 224 here. And this property is the one that's approximately 18 acres. It's, if you're familiar with where the get-go is, on the corner of Maslin Road and 224, it's right behind there. And the township's working with willing sellers on the properties. And we apologize for the last minute coming to council, but everything just kind of came together at the last minute. And the township's been working for years to address the algae problems in Springfield Lake. This is one of the measures that they are seeking to take, is protecting some of the properties around Springfield Lake that they think are important to protecting long-term water quality, in addition to other measures that the township's looking at doing to improve long-term water quality within the lake. So I know that's not a lot of information, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have in regard to the project. And again, really appreciate your consideration of this resolution for the township. And Dean Young, trustee at the township, regrets not being able to be here tonight. He's actually en route to Florida for a planned vacation. Otherwise, he would have been here himself.
Thank you, Mr. Hess. Any questions from members of council? Hearing none. Thank you, Mr. Hess.
Thank you very much.
Well, now we have one item to come before us tonight. First read passage 2023-263. We will now rise to a pledge of allegiance led by Ms. Rita Darrell, followed by a moment of silence.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Schmidt. Here. Ms. Hyam.
Here.
Mr. Donofrio.
Here.
Mr. DeVitas.
Here.
Ms. Dickinson.
Here.
Ms. Sims.
Here.
Mr. Wilhite.
Here.
Ms. Darrow.
Here.
Ms. Rogers.
Here.
Ms. McKinney.
Here.
Ms. Walters.
Here.
First readings 2023-263, a resolution declaring the County of Summit's approval and support for Springfield Township's Clean Ohio Conservation Fund grant application for the Springfield Lake Protection Project located in Springfield Township in Council District 8 to be submitted by Springfield Township for funding under the Clean Ohio Green Space Conservation Program for the executive emergency.
Madam President, I move to suspend the rules and adopt 2023-263.
I have a motion to suspend the rules and adopt 2023-263. On the suspension, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And on the adoption, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Special council meeting of August 28, 2023 will come to close now at 4:34.
Okay. With that, I will call the Personnel Committee to order at 4:34. First item we have on the agenda this evening, and the only item for personnel, is 2023-251, a resolution confirming the award by the Board of Control for a professional service contract with Minuteman HR Risk Management Services as a best practical source for third-party administrator services for the county's workers' compensation program. for a period of 3 years in an amount not to exceed $96,000 for the Executive's Department of Human Resources, Division of Employee Benefits, Emergency.
Good afternoon, Brian Harnack, Assistant Director, Department of Law. I put together this contract for the HR department, and in fact, it was my area up until a short time ago. This is a 3-year contract with a third-party administrator. They're the ones that help us sort of on the high level of workers' compensation and administration. They help us determine what kind of discounts and ratings we're going to go for. They help us evaluate claims. They help us even in some attendance with hearings, and recently helped us also with chargeback issues, making sure that the various departments are, paying their part for the workers' compensation claims. They're also our managed care organization, which is required by the Bureau of Workers' Compensation. So that synergy, I think, helps us a lot. And they promised, and in this contract, to keep their rates the same for the next 3 years that we've been paying for the previous 3. So, very good deal for us. If any questions, I'll be happy to take them.
Great, thanks, Brian.
Okay.
Are there any questions from members of the committee? Members of council? No motion? I have a motion from Mr. Schmidt to move on 2023-251. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item passes. And we will call the Personnel Committee to close at 4:36.
Planning and Economic Development will open at 4:37. We have 2 pieces tonight. The first, 2023-253, a resolution authorizing the executive to execute a community development block grant agreement with the City of Fair Lawn and Fair Lawn Gig to run conduit fiber in Copley Township and Council District 5 in a total amount not to exceed $1.7 million for the Executive's Department of Community and Economic Development and declaring an emergency. Holly Miller.
Good evening, Holly Miller, Summit County Department of Community and Economic Development, and I have Ernie Staton from the City of Fair Lawn with me. We'd like to bring to Council a resolution to enter into agreement with the City of Fair Lawn to use Community Development Block Grant funds to run conduit and fiber in the low mod census tracts in Copley Township. I believe you had some maps that came along with the legislation piece. Some of the more well-known names would be Jacoby, Kirkwall, Mall, Kibler. These are low mod areas. We're able to take the Community Development Block Grant funds, run conduit and fiber throughout that entire area. We'll be meeting with the community. We have the addresses of the 986 residential properties and 92 commercial properties. We'll be having community meetings that President Sims will be invited to, and anyone else who would like to attend, to talk with the residents, let them know that if they are low income themselves, we will be able to use Community Development Block Grant funds and connect them to Fair Lawn Gig, pay for the connection, and use some funds to buy down their service rate, their monthly rate to Fair Lawn Gig. The ACP program, or the Affordable Connectivity Program, that was part of ARPA, that if you're low income, you were on SNAP benefits, you could get $30 off your internet bill, that's going to go away. So we're hoping to be able to buy down that rate for a while for those low income residents. Individuals that are not low income can still get Fair Lawn Gig. However, they would have to have a contract with the City of Fair Lawn for the City of Fair Lawn to run the service to their house. And Ernie can talk about what the plan rates would be for those individuals that are not low income. In order to be a low mod census tract, at least 35% of the residents in that in that census tract need to be low income according to the most recent census. So again, it would be 986 residential structures that we would pass. Those that are low income, we will connect. 92 commercial structures that we will pass. If they are owned by a low-income person, we can connect their business, or if they will hire or retain low-income individuals, we can connect their business as well.
Holly, will the households that you pass that are not low income, will they be made aware and offered the opportunity to connect in themselves?
Absolutely. All 986 and 92 will all be invited to the meetings. And like I said, Ernie can talk about what the cost that would be for those that are not low income, but everyone in those streets that you have on the map will have an opportunity to come to Fair Lawn Gig. Even though we're going to have the contract with Fair Lawn, the county still owns those assets. Fair Lawn does not own the fiber or the conduits going in. We own it. They will just maintain it for us and service individuals off of it. But we own that asset.
Thank you. Any questions? Bethany?
Thank you. So I couldn't quite hear if you said how many of the 986 were.
At least
low.
35%.
35%, okay. And then are the Copley Township trustees good with this
Yep.
plan?
Ernie and I went to Copley, I think like August 2nd, and we talked with them. They have a resolution, which I can provide to you, that they are in support of this and would help us coordinate community meetings.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mr. Wilhite?
Ernie, does this help escalate the opportunity for other folks on the fiber network that's been run down here to our area, the university, this complex, residential folks to join sooner rather than what we originally thought they were going to be able to?
I think we're exploring all ideas right now. Wherever we have fiber sitting in the ground, we're looking to, leverage that in some way. So we are looking at all areas. We're also doing the project at Akron U where we have the LTE overhead. So we're also working through that. That's, like our pilot project to potentially have something over the air also.
Great, thank you. This is exciting to get that many residential folks in line for this service. That's great.
Hey, Holly, could you explain maybe to council, so we have this additional funding that came in through CDBG. So, we're kind of jumping ahead of the rest of the county with this project.
Could we do
Explain.
questions really quick and then do that at the end, if that's okay?
I think my question was kind of Brian. What made you think of this? What made you choose this location? And I'm assuming you may be addressing other locations, but what brought this differentiation?
As Brian indicated, it's CDBG CARES money. So we received CARES funding, which is in addition to our normal CDBG allocation, specifically to prepare, prevent, and respond to the pandemic. So we learned during the pandemic, of course, people did not have affordable, reliable connection to the internet. So kids came home from school, they couldn't do their schoolwork, they couldn't do online schooling, people couldn't attend their doctor's appointments, they couldn't stay in touch with their families. The reason why we picked Copley Township is because it is such an easy jump to get Fair Lawn Gig over to where they're at, because they're already down Ridgewood Road. So because it's only $1.7 million, which sounds like a lot, but isn't a lot to connect all these residents and buy down rates, this was the area where we could get the best return on our investment. We are looking at other places throughout the county outside of Akron, Barberton, Cuyahoga Falls right now where we can use other community development block grant funds, maybe up in Twinsburg. So each one of these little communities could look a little bit different as we start getting fiber throughout all 31 communities.
Holly, you said you need at least 30%.
35%.
Water. Do we have a lot of those communities?
We don't have as many as Akron. I can absolutely send you a map that shows you color-coded where all the low-mod areas are. It's on our, Dennis Tubbs from GIS does that for us every year. It kind of changes every couple years. There used to be only one spot in Stowe. It was a little triangle up like off of Baird that was low income. Now they have more areas. Clinton only has one small little area. Bath, Fair Lawn, they don't have an area. So it changes with the census or the American Community Survey, where at least the 35% are low mod.
The state's doing a lot addressing fiber. Are we able to draw any money from the state?
So right now it's just the BEAD funding, and we're looking at applying for BEAD funds.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I think Mr. DeVitas had a question.
Yeah.
Please. Thank you, Chair. Regarding the funds that could be used for low-income households to buy down the rate for Fair Lawn Gig, are those funds available to buy down other services, say Spectrum or AT&T, or is that not the case?
No, because we're not set up like, so even ACP, you're not going through Spectrum, and Ernie can probably talk about this because you do this in Fair Lawn Gig. You're going to a third party to qualify, and then Spectrum, AT&T, Frontier, Fair Lawn Gig are going and asking for that reimbursement. So we don't have that structure set up, but you can talk to how that works.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, so it's through the FCC. So that's how you initially get started in the ACP program. You have to apply to the FCC. Then a third-party group with the FCC determines if your application is reasonable or not, and then the actual provider is the one that has to go and ask for that reimbursement. It's not the actual homeowners.
Okay. So, okay, I think I get it. So what you're saying is that third party they're the ones that are going to request the funds to help pay down rates, and they're available to them just like they are to the county?
They're requesting it, but then that has to run through the provider after they request it. The provider then has to go and handle it.
Who are they?
That third party.
Okay. Define a third party, just so people understand exactly what you mean by third party.
Yeah, so there's 4 law firms in Washington, D.C. that work for the FCC that manage the ACP program, just as they do any other program. That's the third party that administers the ACP program.
All right, thanks.
Ms. Sims?
So just a point of clarity, I know I've had some time with you all. With regards to the businesses that are connecting that may not meet the requirements to low to moderate, how are we setting up that they hire folks from the community who fit within that framework?
So if they're going to say that they're going to create or retain jobs for low to moderate income individuals, for the first year, they have to give us their payroll reports.
So it's just for 1 year?
Mm-hmm.
Have we considered exploring beyond 1 year?
We can.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Any other questions from members of the committee or members? Did she add everything you wanted to add? Great. Do you have a motion?
So moved, Madam Chair.
A motion from Mr. Wilhite on 2023-253. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you.
Holly. Thank you. 2023-256, a resolution confirming the award by the Board of Control of a construction contract with CG Building Group LLC under the Public Cooperative Purchasing Agreement with Equalis Group in an amount not to exceed $200,382.28 for the relining services of the underground plumbing drains at the Summit County Community-Based Corrections Facility located in the city of Akron and Council District 4, the Executive's Department of Administrative Plant Services, Physical Plants, and declaring an emergency.
Good afternoon. Joe Eckenrode, Physical Plants. So we're asking for this construction contract. This came about when their men's shower room backed up. They explored what was going on there. They did an emergency repair in that area. They videoed the lines, and all the trunk lines are deteriorated and cracked to the point where they need to either be dug up completely and replaced or relined. So Oriana House applied for a grant with ODRC. They were given the money. This will be 100% grant funded to reline them all, and that's what we're looking to do. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Joe? Okay, hearing none, can I have a motion?
So moved.
A motion from Mr. DeVitas on 2023-256. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. And
you.
Planning and Economic Development will close at 4:47-ish.
Resolution 2023-257, a resolution confirming the award by the Board of Control for professional service contract with Courtview Justice Systems, Inc., DBA Equilon, as a sole source for system software for a 5-year term from 1/1/24 through 12/31/28, with one option to renew for an additional 5-year term in a total amount not to exceed $453,585 with the Court of Common Pleas Probate Division and declaring an emergency.
Hi, I'm Brian Greco, IT Director, Summit County Probate Court. And this contract is for our case management system that runs the court, keeps track of all your cases, keeps track of all the imaging. This contract is a 5-year contract with 1-year renewals. And the budget for this is all from the probate court's computerization fund.
Have any questions from members of the committee? Questions from council?
So moved.
We have a motion from Councilwoman Walters. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes.
Thank you.
And I will call public safety to close at 100. And I will open the rules committee at 4:50. We have one resolution tonight, 2023-259, one resolution confirming the award by the Board of Control of change order number 2 to professional services contract with Cummins Nelson and Associates, Inc. to provide additional professional services in various negotiations, grievances, arbitrations, and other labor matters in an amount not to exceed $50,000 for a cumulative increase of 150%, for a total amount not to exceed $125,000 for the Executives, Department of Law and Risk Management, and the Sheriff, and declaring an emergency.
Good afternoon again. Brian Harnack, Assistant Director, Department of Law, Executive Office. Clemens Nelson is our consultant, our firm that helps us with negotiations and arbitrations, mainly with the FOP. This is, unfortunately, has been a very busy year with the FOP. Earlier this year, which this contract was originally for, we went forward and eventually settled the contract and fact-finding with the FOP. Now we have the FOP supervisors who we are going to be going to fact-finding in October, in addition to a pretty decent spike in other grievances and arbitrations. We're going to need to increase this, this amount. So, any questions? I'm happy to take them.
Any questions from members of the committee? Questions from council?
Just so,
Yes.
thank you, Madam Chair.
Sure.
Just out of curiosity, this is a 150% increase. Are we expecting more? You anticipating on
I
what you-
think this is going to cover it.
This, okay.
I think. I tried to put an amount where I thought it's going to get us through the end of the year, through the fact-finding, through the rest of the arbitrations, and get us through those substantial activities that are going to happen before the end of the year.
Okay. Thank you.
I hope and pray.
Any other questions?
I'll move.
All right, we have a motion from Ms. Hyan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Guys have it, and I will call rules to close at 4:52.
We'll open up finance at 4:52. Two items. 2023-260, a resolution ratifying the chart of accounts and project strings established by the executive in the fiscal office upon the conversion from the Banner system to the Tyler Enterprise system as set forth in Exhibit A for the executive and fiscal officer and declaring it an emergency.
Good evening, Sarah Butcher-Gross, Department of Finance and Budget. Essentially, this is just a translation from what our chart of accounts was in Banner into Munis.
Questions, committee? Questions, council?
I'll move on this.
Okay, Elizabeth moves on 2023-260. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Next item is 2023-262, a resolution authorizing the executive and fiscal officer to establish an internal lease fund titled Internal Lease Fund and appropriating $2 million to the fund to be used to pay for procurement of equipment on behalf of the county's department, who will repay the fund over the useful life of the equipment for the executive's department and finance and budget, and declaring it an emergency.
So we'd like to set up this lease fund in order to have cost savings, especially in the rising interest rates. This is going to help us save on those financing costs as well as administrative costs that come with the lease purchases. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Committee questions? Go ahead.
When you say internal lease fund,
Yes.
that's all types of different things, right? Like copy equipment? Or is it
Yeah,
something
I think the main things are going to be copiers and vehicles.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll move on this, Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Rogers moves on.
Mr.
I'm
Donofrio.
sorry, council, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Go
So
ahead.
initially, I understood it to mean just the equipment. Are now vehicles in here too? And how does that work?
Vehicles, depending on the vehicle and the numbers, may or may not be part of this. I would add to this. So lease is a little bit of a misnomer with this. Essentially, and I'll use copiers as the prime example. So historically, departments across the county, different timeframes, different vendors have entered into lease agreements for equipment. And those lease agreements, as Sarah just said, don't always have the best interest rates. They, many times at the end of, typically they're 5-year leases. Departments, the equipment's still good equipment, but then they're having to turn around and enter into another lease agreement. A ton of paperwork that comes with those leases. And so as we began looking, and I think a lot of this dates back to when we formed the internal audit department, or excuse me, the Office of Information Technology, we began looking a couple years ago at computer purchases, and originally set about going out and leasing like 500 pieces of PCs, laptops. Decided to essentially, rather than directly lease them, we entered into a lease financing agreement with KeyBank, but bought the equipment so that we could spread out its replacement over like a 5-year cycle. With every year we do like 1/5 of the departments. We're looking to kind of do the same thing here with copier equipment and other pieces of equipment, where we'd like to centralize essentially the ownership and inventorying of those things. We would make the purchases on behalf of the department, so they would actually be purchases, not leases, but then we would turn around and lease them back to the departments, who would repay them a monthly charge out of their budget to replenish the fund. So vehicles may or may not end up in it. I'm not going to rule out that we might not do it for vehicles, but some of the like large sewer Vector pieces of equipment that you typically see leases for, if I think in the past, like the building department has come and said they want to lease like 15 vehicles, that might be more than what this fund could handle at any given time. So I think it's going to be a combination, and those sewer Vectors are $300,000-$400,000 pieces of equipment. Those large pieces probably still would be leased independently of this. This is really more focused on equipment that is computers, copiers, maybe some vehicles, we'll see, but that type of stuff to allow one central place to purchase it rather than lease it. And the lease part of it's an internal mechanism more than anything else to save money.
Yeah, and as
That
the
makes
county,
sense,
we
yeah.
wouldn't charge those departments back those interest rates or
Yeah, so
admin fees.
that's why it seems like that would be something a little different than, say, copy machines versus a vehicle.
Yeah.
So why would we not do that separately? Or if we're going to do that?
A lot of it depends. I think a lot of it's going to depend on how far we can stretch $2 million in terms of having money out the door at any given time covering these purchases. It's really meant to do two things: save us money on the leasing of equipment, but also get us on a regular replacement cycle for equipment as well. Particularly, I mean, we all see this technology stuff, how quickly it becomes dated. And so it's a management tool. And what I think the other thing we're looking at doing with like copiers is entering into some master service agreements with copier companies, so we can try to negotiate better pricing structures on that as well.
Thank you for anticipating that question.
Yes. I could
Any
see
other
it- I could
questions?
see it coming.
Any other questions from committee or council?
I'm not sure if we answered my question, but
So your
you said
question
kind of,
is-
sort of, is the intent under this agreement to do vehicle leasings? Because they seem to me very different. And that we would-
I would tell you this, there may be one-offs, and again, when we say leasing, this is purchasing equipment. So we could, in certain instances, decide that it makes sense for this fund to buy a vehicle and then charge it back to the department over like a 5-year period. I'm not, it's primarily not focused on vehicles, but I think that becomes a situational thing. So if a department wants to go out and actually lease a vehicle, they would just go out and lease a vehicle. It wouldn't flow through this.
Thank you.
I think I understand too, talking to Phil, that all this is normal. It's going to go through a bidding process. It's going to go to Border Control. And it's going to come to council. So, I mean, we're going to see everything.
This does not increase at all. It basically means instead of 20 departments cutting POs to buy stuff, we'd have one central place where we're cutting a PO. Like, to your point, Councilman, just goes through Border Control Council like normal. The departments themselves just wouldn't pay the full upfront cost. They would pay this fund back over time.
And we're saving money for each department.
Right,
with this
because we
process,
would be
which is
eliminating the
important.
financing costs that these leasing companies charge us.
Big deal.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Ms. Rogers, I believe you moved on 2023-262. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries, and we will close out finance at 5 o'clock.